it's a very simple way to think of it. If you was to name the three biggest games in terms of revenue, player base, just the three biggest games in the last 5 years, it would be Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite. And all three of these games have in common that the average gamer is 8 to 12, right? They're in that ballpark. It is very much a kid-orientated target demographic. If you just rewind the clock, you only have to go back 10 years, and those three biggest games would have been Halo, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, very much 18 to 25. And so as age compression of kids' adoption to devices has got lower, the entire market has gone down as well. So they really do absolutely completely rule the world.
Hello, everyone. GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. I am stoked for this episode today. If you have followed me at all, if you've followed this podcast at all, you know I'm a big fan of the NFT project CRYPTEX. And one of the things, or a couple things that I think CRYPTEX really opened my eyes to is A, just the opportunity to blend NFTs and toys, and then B, really just make me aware of how much of our culture is shaped by kids. And one of my guests today said, kids rule our world when I last spoke with him. And he would know, because today I'm joined by Ron Friedman, who is the vice president of Mattel Future Lab, and Zach Howie Brewerton, who is a senior product manager with Mattel. They're both driving Mattel forward when it comes to NFTs and blockchain and frankly, other sort of digital innovations that we might get into. Zach, Ron, thank you both so much for being with me. Thank you so much for being here with me today. It's a rocky start here on Overpriced JPEGs. The tech wasn't working earlier, so now I'm tripping over my words. Thank you for bearing with me, and I'm so excited to have you both on.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here and share a little bit about our journey and what we were doing here at Mattel.
And I want to start by going broad and giving folks a little bit of sense of the toy industry generally, and maybe you both have been in this space for a long time. I know, Ron, you in particular, sort of how the toy industry has evolved to the place we are today and where NFTs can fit in that broader evolution. I think this is going to be a really just instructive episode for folks. Even if you're not directly in the toy industry, I think there's a lot to be learned from what Mattel is doing. And again, this sort of kid-centric, family-centric approach to the blockchain. But before we get into all that good stuff, we do need to hear a word from our lovely, lovely sponsors.
When it comes to NFTs, convenience often wins over security, despite scams being everywhere. Brands and artists have no other choice by complying with big marketplace terms and weak security because no good alternative exists, which is what prompted Ledger to fix the problems of NFTs themselves and launch Ledger Market. The Ledger Market provides an end-to-end secure NFT experience for brands, artists, and users, enabling true ownership and control over NFT assets, from minting to storing. Ledger Market secures NFT projects via Ledger Enterprise, keeping you protected from phishing attacks and scams. And the market directs users to Ledger Live, where they can transact with a contract directly, giving clear signing details instead of blind signing and praying. Don't trust, verify with clear signing from Ledger Market. Stay up to date on the latest drops and marketplace updates by following Ledger on Twitter and joining the Ledger Open Discord, which is linked in the show notes below. BUENO is the NFT toolkit you need to launch your digital collectible on the blockchain without coding. Every step of the NFT creation process, from generation to mint, all taken care of by the BUENO NFT toolkit. With BUENO, you can load up your art layers, reorder the layers, tinker with rarity, everything you need to make your NFT project a reality. BUENO even allows you to mint your tokens on the blockchain with zero code and offers advanced minting logic like linking allow lists, airdropping tokens, and on-chain royalty configuration. As a part of their launchpad, you'll get access to forums to run surveys, email collection, and build your pre-sale list to make sure you are hooked into your own community. BUENO is full of powerful tools you need to build the most expressive NFT project possible. So go to bueno.art and start building your own collections today.
Zach, set us up here for this kids rule our world premise that I mentioned at the top. I think of like Star Wars or Harry Potter, or some of the biggest franchise obviously started with kids who love them. But I feel like the trend is even bigger now, and there's even more proof points, and really spell out the case for kids rule our world for us. Absolutely.
And this is something that is very much in our DNA here at Mattel. It's something that we do very strongly, but when we first kind of tackled this, I think there are so many different proof points and different ways that you can slice this, that you can really start to see that as a statement, it holds true. I think one of them, if we start by looking at gaming, if you was to name the top 3 games in the last 5 years, right? And in terms of users, revenue, the whole shebang, it would be Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft, right? 3 games that have completely blown the games industry wide open. And when you think about those 3 games, their target audience is 8 to 12, right? These are kids that are completely defining that entire industry right there. If you was to rewind the clocks just 10 years ago, those would have been Call of Duty, GTA, Halo. These are very much more adult targeted games. You're talking like 18 to 26. And it's very, very much shifted all the way down. We're going to talk a little bit later around kind of age compression and what we're seeing that and how that's kind of impacting kids, which is definitely a driving force for this. But it's also increased the amount of soft power that these kids have as well. And a perfect example of this, if we think of Travis Scott, right, a very, very hot music artist in the industry, absolutely blowing up, doing amazing things. But when you look at where he's activating, right, he's hosting Fortnite events inside there where you can go and see him live. He's activating in McDonald's where he's got his own meal line. He has his own Nerf gun, right? He's somebody, when you think of traditional musician, you don't think of them activating in all of these kid targeted areas. I think this only continues to be expanded upon when you go through and you look at like the top YouTuber in the world is Mr. Beast, and he's watched by kids. The vast majority of his audience is a kid-based audience. For streaming, it's the same. It's Ninja, right? As someone else who blew up on Fortnite and is adored by kids. If we look over to TikTok, and TikTok is as a whole own section. It's one of the fastest growing social media platforms that we've ever seen, that we've ever witnessed. It's really the accumulation of that. But if you think of where that started, it was when it was Musical.ly, right? And this was a social media platform that was pioneered by preteens talking to other preteens and making silly dancing videos. And it was very, very much a kid social media platform before it turned into what it is today. And this really alludes to the fact that not only are the kids using and interacting with these, but they have the soft power. They are driving what is popular, what is important in pop culture. They are very much at the forefront of that conversation.
I think of like teenagers and early 20s as like driving culture. And I think the point you're really driving home is that was true. It was teenagers.
Very much was true.
14, 15, 16, 17 into the early 20s. For many decades, that was sort of the defining generation of any given era. And increasingly it's becoming
younger
8,
and
9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, which is like, I have a visceral mixed feeling about that. That I'm sure others may be having as well. It's fascinating to know. I mean, do you draw any conclusions about this in like the degen NFT market of like, I don't know, Bored Apes, but like doodles or cool cats or something that's maybe a little bit more family friendly is the way to go?
Yeah, and I think again, we will always, even using Travis Scott as the example that I used in that, while he is activating in these kid location areas, his content is still more plussed up for a more adult audience. So it definitely raises a lot of questions about us as a society and where we're going. I know anyone that's keeping up with the
Kardashians, just kidding.
Yeah. The kind of meme culture that's going on right now, and there's a lot of talk around like, you know, the youngsters appearing a lot older than they are right now. I know that's a very hot topic, and it is because they are spearheading this culture. So there's definitely ways to appeal, right? I think again, just my gaming background coming through, but if you look at like Supercell games or Epic Games, they have an E for everyone art style. That is like, still personally, I think Fortnite has some killer aesthetics, especially with some of the more adult focused skins. But it is in a family friendly setting, right? You can still go and have those more adult topics, but in a manner that can appeal to a wider audience.
So that's a great primer for the backdrop against this conversation. And now I want to move into the toy industry and the world in which Mattel dwells and ask, maybe in addition to digital, like what are some of the biggest trends we're seeing right now in toy? I have a couple I'll bring up if nothing is sticking out to you, but what would you say are the biggest industry trends of the last decade?
Yeah, I mean, digital adoption is the biggest one and the biggest influence that we've seen, right? And that is a wide spectrum type of an impact, right? In ways that have really shifted consumer dynamics, especially in children, right? And what are their preferences? When I started doing this job, again, as I said, like back in 2013, 2014, the crossover between when kids like to play with digital more than physical happened at around age 8 or age 9, right? Like it was an older kid that started to prefer to play digitally than physically, with games than with toys. Fast forward 5 years, back in like 2019, that crossover had shifted about 4 years younger. So now kids age 4.5 started to like playing with digital more than they like to play with physical. And for a company like ours that makes toys, that is a big sort of like alarm clock ticking, right? In terms of like, how do we incorporate and embrace digital trends to amplify and engage better with our consumers, as well as think about a broader age of consumers, right? Not only young kids, but also thinking about the kidult and older audiences that are more in the digital space, and how can we bring our brand relevancy and our purpose and our impact to those new frontiers of play. And so that opens up a variety of things, right? From just core digital gaming, and we have a fantastic team that is doing digital games, but also how do we incorporate digital game mechanics into our core products, like we talked about with Hot Wheels ID, and amplifying our connected play experiences. And we've been successful with a few of those. Pictionary here is another example. Jurassic Facts or Jurassic World Facts is another app that we do to amplify our physical toys through digital engagement. And I think that those are really interesting and novel ways to keep our physical toys intact and at the core of the experience, but being amplified by the capabilities of digital that you just can't offer through just pure analog play.
Do you have any metrics that you're able to share, even if they're industry wide? I know, I think the last number I saw, which might be a little out of date now, was like $80 billion is the annual, basically industry total for toys. Like what percent of that is digital, or how the percent of that's digital has increased over the last decade or so?
So that is hard to track, because the way that the industry is tracked doesn't really break out digital as much as we'd like. So I can tell you that it's still small. It's smaller than it should be, because I think that the growth has been concentrated on pure digital experiences, right? And when you think about like where the growth has come in play, has come through pure mobile apps and console games, and now computer games and PC gaming that have stolen the time or the share of day, rather than focusing on this mixed play experiences. We have been fortunate in that we have leadership here that believes in this, and that has allowed us to continue to explore, and that has pushed us to grow that part of our business. But as an industry, I think it's still in its infancy.
You mentioned this term kidult, which you had taught me, and it's reminding me of a trend that I want to throw out to y'all that I've sort of heard in connection with Mattel. I don't know if it was somebody from Mattel or in some of the podcasts I was listening to sort of about Mattel, which is we're no longer in this sort of here today, gone tomorrow model of toys. You have toys like these Mattel properties, Barbie, Hot Wheels, I'm sure there's a number of others that get to have this long life cycle where it becomes a nostalgia play once the person is in their 20s or even 30s, with the way that IP and entertainment is getting wrapped up in these companies, certainly like Mattel with the Barbie movie. These toys have these much longer life cycles, which is different than how it used to be. Is that true as sort of IP gets blended up with all this?
Yeah, I think it definitely is true. I think that what is true is the brand itself has become multi-generational and nostalgic, right? If you think about brands like Hot Wheels and Barbie, they've been around for 5-6 decades and more. Mattel is a company that has been around for over 75 years now. And so the endurance of our brands and relevancy of those brands and their purpose permeates across multi-generations, right? From grandparents to parents, children, and new generations as they come. The toys themselves and the play experiences themselves are very short-lived, to be honest. Like I think that the best proxy that I can think of for the toy industry in that sense is fashion. It's very fast-paced, very trend-based, and there are very few toys that can last more than a few seasons, right? A few years before they need to be fully renovated or replaced by something else. Obviously, there are things like Hot Wheels, right? The die-cast cars. These are the 1/64 scale die-cast cars. They're the same today as they were 55 years ago, and they have endured, right? The Barbie doll. Yes, we have changed the form of the doll and the diversity of the doll line and more careers to what Barbie can do, but it's still very much the same. But it does require continuous improvement and novelty that you imbue into those toy lines on a season to season basis. Like it's incredibly fast paced, and how much you have no idea how many SKUs and toys a company like Mattel does every year, and what percentage of that, which is we are the category leaders in the industry in terms of what percentage of innovation we do versus carry forward, right? Carry forward are toys that you just continue to do the same without touching. We have the highest percentage of innovation within the toy industry.
Zach, I want to make sure we get you in here as well, but I this may be another Ron question. I don't know. We'll see. Which is just to break down specifically within Mattel what you all are doing to start probing these frontiers of integrating digital into existing play. I hear what you're saying, which is a lot of the growth in digital has been sort of independent, new player, new entrants coming in on the video game side, wherever. It's not coming endemically sort of from your Mattels or your Hasbros. It does feel like such a no-brainer that changes when we look at, okay, these are becoming broader IPs. That's even started. Transformers obviously was started as a toy and then became a big movie franchise. And so it ultimately becoming gaming and digital play, et cetera, seems like a no-brainer. You had laid out, I think, kind of 4 primary departments to me, Ron, at Mattel that are exploring these frontiers. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, they're more for charters or for areas of interest that Future Lab is concentrating on.
Okay, not necessarily like specific departments, but
exactly.
These are kind of areas of interest.
Yeah, now there are more departments than Future Lab looking at innovation and digital transformation beyond us, right? And we talked about digital gaming, and we have a very talented team at the digital gaming team that are exploring that more pure digital gaming. But within Future Lab, we've identified 4 key areas of focus and to allow us to explore this digital transformation. The first one, and we've already talked about it a little bit today, is connected play. We believe that we can engage better with our consumers through a digital interface that brings more value to our brands. And so that is an area that we continue to focus on, that we will continue to focus on over the next few years. And that includes things like Pictionary Air or Jurassic World Facts, or things like Hot Wheels ID, which we talked about in the past.
And so we didn't get, I know that we sort of talked about that within this broader timeline. What year specifically was Hot Wheels ID introduced?
We launched it in 2019. It was, I believe, June 14th of 2019 when we launched it. And
so, Ron, for Zach, you're looking at Hot Wheels and you're saying, okay, kids are graduating out of playing with Hot Wheels earlier and earlier. So we have fewer years in which folks are really interested in buying these traditional Hot Wheel physical cars. And they're graduating to digital primarily. So you tap this NFC tag on the Hot Wheel, and now you can bring your car up in a digital play space. Talk us through that experience. Maybe, Zach, this is a place for you to come in and kind of explain that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, God, where to start? It was a big project. So yeah, the core principle of it all was that every single car had a tag. And not only did that tag identify that car, it was unique to that car as well. So that was the really key piece as well. So your twin mill was very much your twin mill, and anything you did with that in either the digital or the physical realm was tracked against that.
Seeing lots of NFT precursors here already. Continue.
Yes. So we were very much out there. We had a full digital racing experience in there as well. It was a mobile first project, so it was very, very traditional kind of mobile gaming is what you'd expect. But what we saw a lot of as well is like the collection elements that then become unlocked by that, right? And now you can track your progress through your collection, how leveled up that is. There's now an incentive to go back and revisit some of your cars that you might not have played with in a while because they're starting to lag behind in the stats that they're there as well. So that was kind of the overview of Hot Wheels ID. It was also complemented with some of the best cars, and our collectors call them some of the best cars that we've ever made as well. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, a lot of what we are doing now with the garage came from Hot Wheels ID. So
does Hot Wheels ID, as it originally existed, still exist?
It does. It's still out there today. It is something we are going to continue to support as well. I don't want to say too much in this area, so Ron, I'll pass that one back to you.
Yeah, I mean the app is still live and people can experience ID firsthand. We are not currently releasing new cars and new vehicles at the moment, but we do have aspirations to bring that back. And as you said and already hinted, right, I think that there's incredible synergies and parallels between what NFC technology can do and what NFTs can do. And we think that that magical pairing of the physical and digital can be a unique value proposition. Or you're seeing things like this already happen in the industry, right? Artifact and Nike and what they're doing there with their digital twins.
Wearables, yeah.
Exactly, with the wearables. When I think we can do something very similar, but in a way that is truly authentic and unique to Hot Wheels. And so, again, we can't share a lot, but know that it's something that is still, being discussed internally and that we are excited to explore.
I know we still have to get to 2, 3, and 4 of this list. We're still on this number 1 of these sort of focus areas for Future Lab, this connected play. But I want to talk about this for just a bit more. What were the biggest learnings you guys have taken from that ID? Obviously, maybe this gets us directly into the NFT side, or was it a success? Did people love it? Was it too advanced for folks? What did you really take away from that?
There were a lot of learnings, both positive and negative, in terms of like the experience. It wasn't the commercial success that we had hoped for. I think, quite honestly, we had bigger aspirations, and that's why we're not releasing more vehicles at the moment. But I think that it was incredibly well received by the consumers. The reviews that we have, the interviews that we've made with consumers in terms of like looking back, have all yielded incredible love and passion for what we were doing. I think that we probably tried to do too much for too many people, and we ended up with a very broad experience that lacked single-minded focus. And we try to do, again, in the toy industry, you only get a few shots, right? We probably only get one shot to make it a success. And so we try to make it as broad as possible to make that, to sort of like hedge our bets, where we probably should have had a more clear point of view of what we wanted to deliver on. Even if it was a longer term player. I think that the other thing that we learned, and this is something that is not unique to us, is you need the time and patience to use that data that you're getting to optimize and improve as you go. You see, incredible successes like what is happening in Hasbro, right? With Magic the Gathering and World of, everything that's happening there. It wasn't a slam dunk in year one. They've had to invest in it and redo it over 7 times until they hit it out of the park. And so I think that the other learning from us is be patient, take the long-term view and not think about the short term only. And so we're going to be investing in our platforms for a very long time. Even now that you're talking about the Hot Wheels NFT Garage, we're thinking about the 5-year roadmap, right? And we're not just thinking about what is next and what is the next series, but what does it take us to deliver on that long-term vision? And so we're taking a more cautious long-term approach, thanks to the learnings of Hot Wheels ID.
So take us through, Ron. Let's go to number 2 and number 3 here of on your list of four focus areas.
Yeah, I'll be quick on the others so we can concentrate on the Web3 one. Number 2 is what we call virtual play date, and this is the idea of enabling play to happen regardless of place, right? And in this hybrid world after the pandemic, recognizing that families are displaced and that we should be able to enable play to happen between friends and families no matter where they are, is another key pillar for ours. And we have completed an acquisition for Caribou, which is a really phenomenal platform that delivers what they call the magical Caribou call, which is an interactive video call that allows kids to play, draw, read books together with their loved ones. and that we're really, really excited about to make part of the Mattel family, to build and expand on our portfolio, but also continue to partner with other entertainment partners that we have from across the board. And so that is another pillar that we're going to be focused on in Future Lab. The third one, which is usually our fourth one, but I'll leave it as our third one so that we can then shift to Web3, is just R&D. There are just a lot of things that are happening in the world that are interesting to us that we're currently not really leaning on, right? From mixed reality, augmented reality, full virtual reality. We're thinking about, 3D printing and other technologies that are emerging and that are sort of like all around us. And we continue to explore what this could unlock for play in the world of Mattel. And then the fourth one is what we call digital transformation, which includes both Web3 and Metaverse, which we see as two distinct but parallel paths that converge and that amplify each other, right? Definitely Web3 is not necessarily part of Metaverse. It doesn't need to happen for Metaverse to deliver on its promise. But when Metaverse can leverage Web3 technologies, blockchain and decentralization, especially with interoperability and ownership, it can unlock another layer of engagement that we're really excited about. So we are exploring those really deeply. And we, as you know, already have some projects out there, like the Hot Wheels NFT Garage. We've done some partnerships for Barbie, the CRYPTEX partnership as well. But we have a long roadmap ahead of others that we're exploring for the next few years.
That interoperability piece is something I really want to dive into with y'all from a corporate perspective, from the perspective of somebody like Mattel, which is what I wanted to get into with that NFC tag. But let me just drill down there when you say the Web3 and the Metaverse are sort of distinct and the Metaverse is enhanced by these Web3 blockchain features. What is the Metaverse from a Mattel perspective?
Zach, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think there's a lot of big takes on what it is, but I think for us fundamentally we are looking at a single sign-on location that you go to experience everything all at once at any time. So it's somewhere where you can go and play multiple different games. Kind of if you look at, and I'm taking a very gaming lens on this one just because of my background, but a lot of play today starts on Discord, right? The very first thing you do before you go and boot up a video game, you go and log on with your friends, you see what they're playing, you kind of hang out, you catch up, and then you decide what you want to play. And then you go and boot up that experience and you go in and you play. So instead of having this very fragmented experience we have now that relies on lots of different software and touch points for you and your friends to go, you just have that all in a single experience. I think if you look at what Meta are trying to do, what Epic are trying to do, it's very much in that same vein that you start in the lobby with your friends and you pick your experience and you boot up and go. Does it mean like my Barbie hopping in my Hot Wheel and, driving to, I don't know, Monster High? Is that an outdated reference? Mattel reference? I don't know, but whatever it is. Exactly that. Okay. Exactly that. And I think if you look at the kind of IP mashups that we already have today, I'm going to point to Fortnite as a perfect example, right? You have mainly a lot of Disney and Marvel characters that are in the same world, right? And the brands are okay with those things being in the same world. And I think as corporate entities, we need to start being more open to this idea of cross-pollination of IP and where that creates epic wins. There are loads of examples out there where that is a net positive for both IPs when they come together. So, yeah.
I think it's very much like thinking of your toy box in the physical world, right? When you have your toy chest or your toy box, you're not separating your Mattel toys from your Hasbro toys from your Lego toys, right? Everything is in there at once. And so I think that the Metaverse and these new engagement models are another opportunity for us to open that up and to allow kids to play in the same way in the digital world as they do in the physical world.
I love that because I do think that in so many ways, what Web3 is trying to do is trying to make more sense of the internet in terms of trying to make it look more like what has naturally evolved in the physical world that I think actually makes more sense. Ownership actually makes more sense in a lot of ways. I mean, I guess if you grew up in a capitalist society, whatever, I'm brainwashed, whatever the folks on the other side of this might argue, but that all feels more intuitive. And yet when you first introduce these ideas to people, I think because that's not how the internet has run, it feels less intuitive. So drawing this comparison and being like, no, this is actually how, like, when my kid's done with playing this toy, I can go off and sell it. And it doesn't mean I make money on that toy, but I can recoup maybe some of what I spent on it, or I can sell a bunch of old toys in order to raise some money to buy a new toy. Like those dynamics that are at play in the real world, physical world, that we're now porting over to the digital world makes total sense. So on this interoperability question, there's a lot to be said there. Obviously you're referencing Meta, you're referencing Fortnite, you're referencing kind of these closed ecosystems. And I guess the broad question here is what is to the benefit of Mattel as a business? And I'm going to say one more caveat is I hear your guys' answer to that, which is, this NFC tag system. Really, the only difference I would assume in sort of adding the NFT is that interoperability part, is that, you could have a closed ecosystem with just an NFC tag where you could have your digital car and you could have a marketplace in there where people could sell and buy their Hot Wheels within that closed ecosystem. What the NFT side and the blockchain side does is allow that car in theory to be removed, from just that closed ecosystem and ported somewhere else. Is that how you guys see it? And then from the Mattel perspective, how do you think about closed versus open ecosystems and the benefits to the business?
Yeah, I think we do. And I think you put it well in terms of like what the initial potential is to drive that uniqueness and to drive secondary market value to all of our toys and authenticity, to know what you have and that it comes from Mattel and that it's number 1 of 150 and all of those things that we can deliver. I think another point of importance is utility. And I know we talked a lot about utilities and NFTs, right? And all of that. But I think that opening up interoperability is what really opens up the true value of utility, right? Once I have a Hot Wheels car in my NFT garage, knowing that I can actually go and race that car in another racing game that's on another platform, adds incredible value to my NFTs, even if they're not playing with those cars in my closed platform. So I want to make sure that I'm delivering a lot of value and an optimal user experience within our closed environments. But I want those cars to be able to be raced wherever they can, right? And to add more utility, because that will make those NFTs more valuable to the original owner, to build a thriving secondary market. And I think that that's ultimately what I think we all dream of. It's going to take a lot of effort, right? And this is not something Mattel can do, especially not by ourselves. But I think that standards and practices across the industry are really important. And right now, obviously, there's 2 big consortiums being formed, right, with Web3 native companies and sort of like Web2 native companies coming together. We hope that eventually these 2 consortiums comes together as well, because that's the only way that we actually make this happen. And we're trying to talk, sort of like straddle the line between the 2, because we work with both companies, and Mattel really just wants to be able to deliver our IP and great value, no matter where or with whom.
So is this an org-wide? Obviously you can't speak for literally everybody, but is the perspective that it would be better for Mattel's business to have open ecosystems where Hot Wheels could be ported from one metaverse to another, and the car racing experience that you get in Bored Ape's other side, can also include a Hot Wheel, as can, insert another, the sandbox, or insert another metaverse here. Do you feel like that's sort of org-wide, to the extent that people org-wide are thinking about this stuff, the perspective?
I think so, long term, right? I think that's the thing. It's distinctive in terms of how we're thinking about it in the short term, where we want to make sure that we have a curated, excellent play experience that we're building ourselves. But long term, we do think that there is a consensus view on interoperability and opening up the toy box beyond what we control. The thing where we need to be careful is that it will. I don't think that for a company like Mattel will ever be fully open, because you need to protect your IP, right? You want to make sure
have a Hot Wheel in a porno or something.
Exactly.
Like a violent something or other. I mean, in some ways, I feel like we land in a place potentially, which is what we see playing out with royalties right now in the ETH ecosystem, which is smart contracts that have like allow lists, right? This is allowed to be sold on these XYZ platforms. Or maybe, a broader option would be a blacklist, where, you can add blacklisted sites to a smart contract, or to something that a smart contract points to say, it's not allowed in these places to try and protect that IP while keeping it as sort of interoperable as possible. The reason I drill down on this point so much, or kind of am pushing on it, is because I think this is such an important, at a minimum, talking point for folks who are out in the world trying to explain why Web3 is a real thing or why this is big, is like the business case for it. And if you have big influential companies by and large saying, our sense is the way that the business incentives are going to go, we're going to want a more interoperable web and we're going to want more interoperable experiences, that necessitates blockchain, that necessitates sort of that underlying NFT layer. That to me helps speak to the kind of inevitability of this tech. And so I just wanted to kind of get that clear for folks who are, again, off trying to convince Uncle Bob this Christmas or whatever that like they aren't just completely wasting their life by being in this industry.
COINSHIFT is a leading treasury management and infrastructure platform for DAOs and crypto businesses that need to manage their treasury operations. Every crypto org needs to manage its treasury, and COINSHIFT offers a simple, flexible, and efficient multi-chain treasury management platform built on top of the highly secure Gnosis Safe. With COINSHIFT, your organization can go from primitive single-chain treasury management to expressive, flexible, and multi-chain treasury features, such as global user management, global contacts, proposal management, and many other features that can be shared across an entire organization, allowing users to save time and reduce operational burdens and gas costs. COINSHIFT even has data tools like account reporting across the 7 chains on which it operates. Used by industry powerhouses such as Uniswap Grants, Balancer, Consensus, and Masari, COINSHIFT is speeding up the coordination and efficiency of the organizations that use it. You have to keep up with the frontier, and COINSHIFT makes that easy. So sign up at coinshift.xyz/bankless. We're all bullish on NFTs, but gaining exposure to NFTs as a whole is difficult. How are you supposed to gain broad, generic exposure to an industry that's designed to be unique and non-fungible? CRYPTEX has the answer. CRYPTEX Finance produces synthetic tokens that lets you get exposure to areas of crypto that you otherwise couldn't. Their first product, TCAP, provides broad exposure to the total crypto market cap of all crypto assets. And their second product, JPEGZ, gives you the ability to get exposure to the entire NFT market. It's the first real NFT index token, so you don't have to go hunting for rares or finding under-the-radar opportunities. You just need to own some JPEGs, because JPEGZ tracks all NFT collections with real-time exposure. This is a first-of-a-kind product from CRYPTEX, who has worked in close collaboration with Chainlink for months to ensure accurate price feeds for true exposure. Live minting and trading of JPEGs will open at the end of Q4, so make sure you stay up to date with CRYPTEX Finance by joining their Discord, Telegram, or following them on Twitter.
So we obviously talked about Hot Wheels. I think our Hot Wheels and Barbie, those are the 2 big ones I could find that you're really doing some sort of NFT activations with. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing and maybe why those 2 are where you've started.
Yeah, I can take this one. So Hot Wheels is obviously a very, very beloved brand. It has a wide audience out there for it as well. And we already had a lot of learnings from Hot Wheels ID. If you think about the difference between Hot Wheels ID and the NFT Garage, is in ID, you started with the car and that unlocked a digital item. And then with the NFT Garage, it's the reverse. You start with the digital cars and you can unlock physical by collecting through them. We started very early. We actually started with an Ethereum drop called the First Editions. And this was us really kind of showing up last year and just like saying, okay, we're here. We're going to go build a Web3 team. We're going to go start exploring this space. And it was very successful. We did very, very well off those 3. And hopefully those are something that people really enjoy. And that directly span into the NFT Garage. So from that point onwards, and we've done 3 series to date. Each series has been between 40 and 60 cars, and we do 5 physical die-cast with each collection as well. So there is incentive to continue to go through and get them. One of the things, it's slightly off topic, but it really plays into one of the points as well. When we are thinking about an interoperable future, there are things you can start doing today that can get you ready for that. So it's something we don't talk about very often, but Hot Wheels is a great one as well for our digital vault. Every single car that we've made, we have a full game engine, qualified, all of the texture maps required, all archived away, just ready for us to do something with. We don't market it, we don't promote it, we don't really talk about it. But that's just one of the steps that we're taking to get us ready for what may be around the corner and what an interoperable metaverse might look like. And then just to answer your question, Barbie is another one that has a lot of love for. There's a lot that we can do in that space. We're only really just getting started with Barbie right now, but we very much want to deliver on utility straight away. So one of the things we said with the Hot Wheels Garage is we weren't going to put something out there and then sell that. We would do some drops later down the line, and there may be some utility. We from the get-go was like, these are the rare ones. If you get hold of these, you get your die cast, and we're making sure that we're taking that as well. You know, we're the number one. I don't want to say we're the number one. We're one of the top toy companies in the world, and we're really good at making toys that people care about. So we have a unique position there as well to be able to make that part of our offering.
I know you have some announcements that, I mean, the garage obviously came out recently. I think there's some Barbie announcements. I don't want to jump the gun on anything. So maybe I'll let you guys kind of talk about what some of the recent news has been coming out of Mattel and the Future Lab.
Yeah, so we're really excited. We announced this late last week. We are building our own NFT marketplace, our first party marketplace. So we can create and curate our experiences and deliver the best possible and best in class user experience for our NFT projects. The first project that is launching on that first party marketplace under Mattel Creations, which is our collector direct to consumer platform, is the Series 4 for the Hot Wheels NFT Garage. We started out on Wax. We're moving on to Flow as our blockchain for this marketplace. So we're really excited about that. We really believe that we're going to be able to deliver a much better customer experience than what we had in our previous 3 drops. And so we're thrilled by that prospect, and now being able to actually take our destiny into our own hands and being able to produce much more frequent drops and more projects within our marketplace, which now opens up a platform for us to engage with our customers. So that Series 4 is scheduled for December 15th, Thursday, December 15th. So just a few weeks from now, and we're really excited by it. It's going to be our largest drop ever. We've improved our rarity mechanics as well. Zach has done a phenomenal job to make sure that every single pack has at least one rare car. You have a 30% plus chance to get a redeemable car for a physical diecast car, which are retailing at hundreds of dollars on the secondary marketplaces. And so we're really excited by the value that we're delivering to our customers with that. We also announced a partnership for Barbie and Boss Beauties back in International Day of the Girl in October. We're working through that, and we haven't announced the drop date yet, but it'll be early next year. And we're really excited about that partnership as well. It's a very different project than the one that we're doing with Hot Wheels, but it's purpose-driven, supporting both the Dream Gap Fund, which is Barbie's purpose-led fund, as well as Boss Beauty's fund. We couldn't be more well aligned with the purpose of both brands. So we're fortunate to be working with a project like that for our first large-scale Barbie project. We've done other Barbie launches in the past, but they've been more proof points than a real project like this one is. And we're working on many more projects in the background that we're not ready to share, but know that these are just the very beginning. We're just beginning to scratch the surface. You'll hear more about Mattel Web3 projects in the next year.
I know we have a hard stop in about 4 minutes here, so I want to end with a look to the future based on everything you just said, which is, I'm guessing that the drops you've done thus far with Hot Wheels, the things that'll probably be coming out with Boss Beauties and Barbies, in many ways are still, the consumer is an adult and sort of an adult collector audience. Obviously, broadly as a brand, Mattel focuses on kids. What does that evolution look like? How do you see it playing out, moving from sort of adult collector to actual kind of kids? Obviously, there's complicated stuff here with blockchain and kids on the internet and, wanting to be sensitive to all of that. But do you have a timeline, a sense in your head of how this evolves over time?
There are definitely a few stabs we're taking. I think we have, there's a lot of different things that we're tracking which are going to affect what that timeline actually looks like. I think we're starting to see, and again, sorry to keep coming back to gaming, but as that average gamer is now dropping below 10, the industry is having to do a lot of things around safety, especially around safety online and online video games. That's still in a very early stage in the gaming industry. It's going to take a while for that to kind of go mass and out into social media platforms and then eventually into Web3. So if we're looking at just the base level security that we would need, we're looking at a 3 to 5 year timeline horizon for us to get into kid spaces. And then it's also making sure that NFTs and Web3 kind of culture as a whole are showing up in places that the kids already are, right? They are already out there on Roblox, on Minecraft, on Fortnite. They are already there. And so there's a few other things we're tracking against there to see how that's really going to continue to play out.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, Mattel has the strictest and highest standards of privacy, security, and safety, especially when it relates to kids. We go above and beyond what COPPA compliance or GDPR compliance asks. And so we're going to take a conservative approach to expanding our audiences into kids. But we do see that as the endpoint, right? Or not maybe not the endpoint, but we do see the amplification of everything that we're doing now to reach our core consumers and children over the next 5 years to 10 years, right? As the technology catches up with our standards for privacy, safety, and security.
Zach, Ron, I really appreciate you both hopping on and dealing with all of the various technical challenges we had here. We'll definitely have you back as Mattel continues to push forward in this space. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure was ours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.